Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your hosts Edward McQueen and April Garner.
The sign came up and said it's time for the broadcast, but look, good evening, everybody. Welcome. And you too, April.
Thank you.
Wow. We've got just let me say to our viewers that we were absent last week. We just thought it was a holiday. I think it was. We sent out a notice, I believe, right? I think
we told them in the broadcast.
Previous broadcast.
Yeah, previous broadcast.
Broadcasting. But I hope everyone had a pretty good holiday, and I certainly did. Welcome the time to entertain and enjoy some recreation. So we're gonna we have scheduled for you today. First of all, let me tell you how you can just just get in on the broadcast. You can go Facebook. We're on Facebook, and then we're on YouTube, and we're on our website at wcmagazine.net. Okay, so you have three options there. If you notice on the promo that those three options were listed there. So please take advantage of them and give us your thoughts today, because we are our guest going to have will be here to address any of your comments if you choose to comment on whatever the topic is going to be today. So April, we're going to have as our guest Chief of Horry County Police, Chief Joseph Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And welcome, Chief Hill.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Always good to have you here, man. You know what we're going to start? I think we may have told you this before. Okay, the Chief of the Week. Chief of the Month. Okay. No. No, really. It's Chief of the Month, because there's always something new that's changing, and what we are aware of, at least I'm aware that you may not be available every month, so but that's what we'd like to really start. We started it maybe a couple of years back, right, April? 3 years back.
Mm-hmm. We were on radio. Yeah.
Chief of Police, and it was working out well, because I know you guys get very busy, especially in view of the activity, the new activity and continuing activity of more people coming into the area, and those things have presented challenges, and we certainly understand that. But we're certainly glad that you're here today to, kind of give us an update on these challenges and, whatever discussions there may be regarding the challenges. So, and our viewers, please feel free to just chat, just send us comments. If you're on Facebook, I think you can do the same thing on YouTube. And we'll try to have the chiefs address them as much as we can. Okay. So, Chief Hill, a lot of people don't know how long you've been chief of Horry County. Okay, so to some of our new viewers, especially our viewers across the nation and across the world, because we're on Facebook, would you like to just give us a brief overview of your inception here in Horry County?
Sure. As you well know, Brother Ed, I was recruited out of Fairfax County, Virginia. I had retired and was accepted a position down here in Horry County in 2015. So it's going on 5 years. Actually, I'm sorry, 2016. And in September of this year will be my 5 years here in Horry County. It's been a wonderful ride and a great experience. I police just an incredible community and lead an incredible agency. But it's been some challenges along the way. As you mentioned earlier, with recruiting and the current population growth we have in Horry County, nothing we can't handle with the support of our county council, but it is a challenge, not just here in Horry County, but nationwide. Police staffing is at an all-time low. Quite recently, I think it was 2 days ago, Asheville, North Carolina Police Department put out a statement that they would only be responding to priority 911 calls, and other calls would be rerouted for a what they call an online report taken because of staffing. I think since January 1st of this year, they've lost a total of 84 officers to retirements or just leaving the profession in its entirety. So that's a challenge for our profession nationwide.
That's great, man. As far as I know, we haven't had any huge challenges that the nation should pay attention to in Horry County yet, relative to police actions or the police department so far. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We've got a great working relationship with our public. Of course, we could always strengthen that partnership, which we try to do on a regular basis. Of course, we have put a lot of challenges in our way of doing our community engagements, but as we slowly put COVID in our rearview mirror, we'll get back into some of those more positive engagement activities. But it's just not Horry County. Conway, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach. We as a group of law enforcement professionals and agencies along the Grand Strand, that's one of our key focuses, is connecting our community with our agencies.
Okay. If you saw the our promotion, we stipulated on there that we will be talking about some of the challenges and things like the budget for the police department, the hiring, okay, and the minority recruitment, any efforts, special efforts there, whatever. So let's start with the crime, which Horry County is not at the top of the list in terms of increasing crime, but it is ongoing. Is that correct?
Yeah, so right now, it's about 4 or 5 days ago, actually, I think it was last Friday, Chief Keel of SLED, State Law Enforcement Division, had a joint press conference with a lot of the leading law enforcement executives in the state to kind of roll out some frustrations that we're all experiencing. There's this increase in violent crime as a whole in the state of South Carolina. Matter of fact, we broke a record in 2020 for the amount of violent crimes, in particular murder, this state has experienced. And unfortunately, we're on track in 2021 to surpass 2020 numbers, which is very disheartening. That is not the case here in Horry County. That encompasses Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, Conway, Horry County, Surfside, and Atlantic Beach. We are seeing a stabilization of violent crime, if you will. And what I mean by that is in 2019, Horry County enjoyed a 50% reduction in violent crime, 51% to be exact. In 2020, those numbers went up considerably, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. Was it a combination of gang violence? Was it family violence? It was a little bit of all that. Was it COVID driving people over the edge, causing people to go into crisis? And I don't have an answer for you. All I know is our numbers went up considerably. In 21, we are seeing better numbers tracking thus far, although we have had an incident of shootings recently out in the western part of the county, and it's all tied to a local gang. Our efforts to work with our federal partners to eradicate some of these repeat offenders starting in 2016 has proved very beneficial to us. But we are seeing an increase in gang violence, and what we suspect is that replacement gang members, replacement drug dealers are now filling the void of the areas where we incarcerated some of our key members in these drug gangs. But we continue to work with our communities to identify these people and bring them to justice.
So has gang activity increased? Has it increased from 2020?
But I won't say that the gang activity has increased. What I will say is that we have new players into place, and that can mean a lot of things. When you take the power and you create a power vacuum in a criminal enterprise like street level drug dealing, sometimes you get folks in there that bring more chaos to the area. Our federal partners are monitoring this. I just had a meeting today with the FBI to identify and discuss some of the strategies we're going to use to attack this emerging problem. We've done a great job working with our partners out of Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach, but that situation continues to escalate out in the western part of the county.
Wow, is it in depth? Is it drug related a lot?
Yeah, in this particular instance, we're seeing retaliation for a recent murder that happened in North Myrtle Beach. That has kind of touched several different communities out west. And it's the drug gang operating without due regard to their community. And it's problematic for us because in the last 2 weeks, we've had several incidents of shooting into occupied dwellings, arson, related to these individuals in the drug gang on the opposite end of the spectrum. And luckily and by the grace of God, no innocent bystander has been hurt. But we've got to put a stop to this before that is no longer the case.
Well, okay. April, you can jump in anytime you want to.
And it's just whenever you think about little old Conway, South Carolina, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around the fact that we have some dynamic and even dramatic gang activity, because you often wonder, well, how in the world would they find a small city like Conway? But I imagine that they're just yeah. I mean, because when you see it, it's sensationalized, it's dramatized in movies and on TV, and it's always big city, And then you look at some place like Conway, that's infiltrated, because of gang activity, infiltrated by gang activity, and it just makes me wonder, like, how in the world do they even find us? And and it's also scary considering the fact that, when it comes down to working with our youth and trying to make sure we're mentoring youth, we really need to know who is in and about our city so that they don't fall prey to this type of activity, which I'm sure is happening a lot, Chief Hill. So, I guess it's kind of hard for you to speak on, some of the I guess more dynamic cases, but what are some things that people can be aware of if they suspect that their young people in their homes may be getting involved in or gang activity? Actually, what are some signs and things that parents need to be aware of?
And that's a great question. And as a parent of a college kid, that was always my concern, and also my daughter. What are their influences outside the home? So what we see typically in areas that are impacted directly, socioeconomic impacts, maybe a single parent household, we find that especially young African-American males are looking for that mentor and that coach, and they're not finding it in the space. So I had a young man tell me years ago when I first got here that he reaches out to folks that he trusts, but they are of the criminal element. So he has no one that he can reach out to that's, not a criminal, working every day, providing for their family, or doing the right thing, going to school. So I think there's a void in our community, especially in communities of color, of those positive influences. They're there, but I don't think our young people either have access to these folks or know where to look for these positive influences. And you talked about gangs in these smaller communities. That's where it starts. It takes 3 or more people to consider themselves a gang under South Carolina law. And so these folks are, a lot of times, they rally around one another just to protect themselves. And, they don't find gainful employment. Sometimes they're influenced by social media, by TV, all the big fancy things that people have in their lives, and they want to achieve this quicker, sooner than later. And so the fastest way to make a lot of money is to sell drugs. And that's their rationale for doing it. Or they're brought into the drug game, if you will, recruited as a runner, and then they work their way up through the system. And so we've got to break that vicious cycle in our communities. And how do you traditionally break that cycle? Is you introduce positive role models into the community, whether it's church, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's an uncle, somebody that these young people respect. The other issue we're running into, and this is statewide, and I would venture to say nationwide, is the reluctance of our citizens to come forward with information. And so you had asked the question, how does a parent know when their young people are involved in nefarious activities? Well, you can look at the wearing. Did you buy it? Is it expensive? What kind of car are you driving? I used to go through my kid's room every now and again and looking for anything. It's my house, I pay the mortgage on it. And so you have no rights to your privacy. And so I would go through their stuff looking for indications of my kids getting off on the wrong track. And so parents have to be engaged in that activity. Of course, kids are not going to like it, but you're under my roof, you abide by my rules. And that strict discipline and adherence to a code of ethics is what keeps our kids safe.
Chief, how many gangs are you tracking right now? I mean, most people are familiar with the Crips and the Bloods, for example, because again, those gangs are kind of sensationalized and you hear more about them in media and in movies. But, there are different sectors and different groups that I understand. So there's probably countless, but how many are you actually tracking in Horry County?
So I don't have an exact number, and that number varies. And I won't give these gang members the dignity of mentioning their name on a social media platform because that's one of the things they kind of rely on, notoriety. What I will tell you is that there's folks that people gathered together to commit a criminal act is considered a gang. They may not have a name or a name you may not recognize or I recognize, but they're involved in criminal activity. And there's many of these little groups, if you will, in and around Horry County. North Carolina, we're seeing an uptick of these groups coming across the border, especially in the Little River area, committing crimes, and then going across back into North Carolina, which it makes it difficult for us to kind of track them. So we've partnered with Columbus County Sheriff's Department, Brunswick County Sheriff's Department. So we're both sharing information, Myrtle Beach, Horry County, and the federal partners, so we can start tracking. I don't want to give you exact numbers because one, I don't know them. I don't want the gang members who may be watching this broadcast to understand that we have them under surveillance, but know that we do.
Right. I guess I was just going for a number, not necessarily a name, but just to let people know how prevalent it is, and the fact that I learned something tonight that 3 or 4 people constitutes a gang. So these gangs can be very much homegrown and can just kind of sprout up anywhere and at any time.
Yes.
Let's talk about COVID. The impact of COVID. Did you see less gang activity whenever we were in the midst of the pandemic and quarantined, or was it just all the same? Nothing ever really stopped?
No, we saw a reduction in violent crime during the height of COVID. We also saw, and a lot of that's attributed to folks who are staying home. It's amazing. Some of the toughest drug dealers, gang members, street thugs were wearing masks. Not because they were trying to hide their identities, some of that's the case, but majority of it was they were scared of this mysterious virus that was plaguing the world. And so we saw a lot of folks kind of calm down their criminal activity. And also, if you think back to years past, Horry County is a tourist-based population. So a typical drug dealer has a new customer base coming in every week. As people come down to vacation, typically a week-long vacation, through the dark web, they know who to contact for their narcotic, whether it be marijuana, whether it be cocaine or fentanyl or heroin. And so you saw a slowdown of that activity because we didn't have those visitors here for a period of time. And then all of a sudden we opened our doors. We were the first resort town on the East Coast to open up during the pandemic. You saw a flood of people come down here. Hotel rooms were renting for $49 a night. And so people were working from home. They were like, well, I can work from Myrtle Beach. So they stayed down here. And some of the element from North Carolina and along to Virginia and Florida and Georgia came here to do their business as well. So to answer your question, we had a bit of a slowdown for criminal activity, but now, unfortunately, we're making up for that as we get into the summer months.
Okay. There are a couple of questions in the thread, and I'm going to pull them up from our viewers. Just want to thank you all for watching. Thank you, Josephine Burgos, who is with us every single week out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We appreciate you so much. And tonight we also have Kevin Mishu joining us, as well as Priscilla Fuller, who's with us every night. Kevin posed the question, how is Horry County Police Department has Horry County Police Department designed any proactive programs targeted at community outreach that will help communities build a relationship with the police department and help solve crime?
Yes, great question. And I think I'm familiar with Kevin. He's out of the Bucksport area, community activist, and one of the leaders in that community. And thank you for being a part of our outreach. So we have a community outreach team. Because of staffing, I don't have a dedicated community outreach team. This community outreach is shared by our motor traffic enforcement team. So when we have community events, Sergeant Larry Graham leads the calls on that. We'll put the motors in a community, and folks can come and chat with the officers. Kids can get on the motorcycles. Prior to COVID, we had purchased a cook trailer and a pull-behind grill with the intent of going to some of these underserved communities and just having a day of fun, cooking hamburgers and hot dogs, bring in community members from the health sector to do blood pressure screenings, job placement programs from SC Works, and just to get away from the senior police officer in an enforcement mode and more of a lending a helping hand mode. And then, of course, COVID put a kibosh on all of that. We're slowly starting to see COVID in our rearview mirror. So you're going to see an uptick from the police department and some of those dedicated community engagement programs. One of the best ways, and tomorrow will be done in Bucksport, is have our community workshops or forums, and we'll be in the rec center down there, the Fraser Center, to answer questions and to talk about crime in the Bucksport community. And that's all throughout Horry County. If anybody wants us to come and speak to their HOA, to their church group. I just did a church speech 2 Sundays ago for Veterans Day. So that's our outreach, and we're glad to do it at any time.
So
Okay, awesome.
what time is that tomorrow, Chief?
I believe, and don't hold me to it, I believe the meeting starts tomorrow at 7, and perhaps Kevin Mishu can chime in with the accurate number, but I think it is 7 o'clock at the Fraser Center.
Okay.
Okay.
Kevin will come up with something.
We also have questions from Priscilla Fuller as well. With the vast number of people moving here, how prepared are law enforcement with dealing with the various cultures? What is the racial composition of our law enforcement in Horry County? Based on the issues that have surfaced in various cities between the police and minorities, what have we done differently in Horry County? So 3 questions there.
Yes, let me see if I can remember them all. So our current population, and we just had a new census, so I'm not 100% sure on what the most recent numbers are, but I believe African-American population is about 13% of the total Horry County population. Unfortunately, in our police department, we are hovering around 7 or 8%, and we have been actively searching for qualified applicants of color, whether it be Latino, Asian American, African American. What are we doing to be proactive in light of everything that's going on after the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis? So what we did is looked at our policies, and this is days after that horrific incident, to make sure that our policies reflect the values of the Horry County Police Department. In particular, the requirement to render aid, prohibition of the chokehold or carotid neck restraint, or anything that would lead to the restriction of blood or oxygen to the brain. And lastly, the requirement to report bad behavior, illegal behavior from your fellow officer. It's a mandated reporting. And then we highlighted that in a SOAP policy, in our SOPs and general orders. That's our guiding document. And then also provided training to our officers on that. We are fortunate here in Horry County because of our working relationship with our community and our policy and our strict adherence to ethical guidelines that we don't see the problems we see at other places across the country. But it only takes one incident to just kind of mess it up. So one of the things we did, I'm very, very proud of, there's a group called the Peaceful Protest. And it's a young group with a lot of energy and a lot of forward focus on police reform out of Coastal Carolina University. And they were in the lead of a lot of the protesting around this area, but they wanted to sit down with law enforcement. So we've had several community forums, and quite recently, and I say recently, about 4 months ago, we invited them to our training division on a Saturday. 6 members of that team showed up. And what we did is we walked them through our use of force policy. What is use of force? What is best practice in the nation? What is our practice here in Horry County? And then we put it to our simulator. And that simulator simulates encounters that police officers have around the country, whether it be someone who is come out of a dark garage, putting an object in your hand, and you have a split second to react to it, whether it's a individual who has a gun and turns on you, what do you do? And, it's interesting, when they got done with that training, then one of the members of the group was a convicted felon. He's turned his life around. He's doing great things now. But he came to our instructor to say, look, for years, I've always held cops as the, not so much the enemy, but just on the opposite end of the spectrum. And now after this training, I see what you guys and girls go through, and I have a new respect for what you do and the decisions you have to make in a split second. And I think that's what we have to do as a law enforcement organization and a profession, to sit down with our public and understand that cops don't always get it right. A lot of what you see going on in the country, we own that. It is our fault. And we have to realize that and make that concerted change in police reform to make sure that that's the practice of the country. But I like to think that Horry County is a model for the rest of the country.
Awesome. Well, Brother Edward, if you don't mind, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and address some more questions and any comments from our viewers, and also talk a little bit about some community events that are going on. How about that?
We can do that. I don't mind.
You don't mind? All right. Well, then I'll take it to commercial. We'll be right back.
Okay.
If you want to support Black-owned and operated businesses in the Grand Strand area and beyond, check out thenetworkconnects.com for a complete list of establishments in our local area. Our network connects Black businesses to community for a wide range of services, products, organizations, and resources that are viable in the African American community. You'll find a wide range of products and services that'll fit your needs, along with information about events and happenings around the local communities. Check out thenetworkconnects.com, connecting Black businesses to community. Thenetworkconnects.com.
All right, Brother Edward, we're back to World Community Magazine right here on Facebook. I'm April Garner, the co-host, and Brother Edward McQueen, publisher of World Community Magazine and host of this show. And I forgot to tell our audience if they've gotten the latest issue. We didn't do any graphics for this particular program, but just want to let you know that it's in circulation. Yes, the May issue is actually available on the website.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the June issue is forthcoming.
It is forthcoming.
Interesting things. And some young people are doing some great things. And
it's our graduation issue, so we will be featuring special messages to graduates from parents, family, and friends all across the communities.
Yeah, it's so exciting to see them, man. They're so elated about finishing, high school. I mean, that is, worth all the viewing in the world. So it
absolutely is, and I hope that everyone really appreciates the fact that, these kids finished during a pandemic, a year that was unprecedented, trying to, finish school in a virtual environment. And so it takes a high level of tenacity and dedication and focus to do that. And I was actually speaking with someone today about her daughter, and asked her how she finished for the year, and she, had like 4 A's and 2 B's, and even though the virtual learning was difficult, she finished in a very stellar way. And so I think that's wonderful. Sometimes we have to dig deep and get out of our comfort zones and realize that we can do it as long as we stay focused. And hopefully this has been a great learning experience for our young people as well. They have to learn how to adapt, how to bob and weave. They got when things change at the drop of a hat, you still have to keep it moving. And so, the graduation issue is going to be great. It was, definitely a lot of wonderful graduation messages, and I hope that everyone, will thoroughly enjoy what they are going to see in that edition. So, but for right now, I am going to actually go to the information about Juneteenth celebrations. How about that? We've got a lot going on in this area, Brother Edward. Oh my goodness.
I can't wait, man. I tell you, I can't wait.
Yes, we have a lot going on, and it's just absolutely amazing. All of the things that have been pulled together in this area, such a poignant time in history as well to celebrate things that we typically do not celebrate. And so I just want to, give everyone kind of the backdrop about Juneteenth. And we're going to learn more about Juneteenth as well as we get closer and with next Monday's broadcast. But, basically the Juneteenth celebration, Juneteenth, that actual word is a combination of the word June, which represents the month of June, and 19th, which you're getting ready to learn what the 19th of June represented. And so, put those two words together and you get the Juneteenth. But basically, according to historical legacy, Juneteenth, on Freedom's Eve, which was the eve of January 1st, 1863, the first watch night services took place. So a lot of people don't even realize that, watch night actually evolved from, this mark in history as well. On that night, enslaved and free African Americans gathered in churches and private homes all across the country, awaiting news that the Emancipation Proclamation had taken effect at the stroke of midnight. Prayers were answered as all enslaved people in Confederate states were basically, considered legally free. Union soldiers, many of whom were Black, marched onto plantations and across cities in the South, reading small copies of the Emancipation Proclamation, spread the news of freedom from the Confederate States. Only through the 13th Amendment did emancipation and slavery throughout the United States, But not everyone in the Confederate territory would be free immediately. They didn't know immediately. So even though the Emancipation Proclamation was, basically made effective in 1863, it could not be implemented in places still under the Confederate control. And as a result, in the westernmost Confederate states of Texas, enslaved people would not be free until much later. Freedom finally came on June 19th, 1865, when some 2,000 Union troops arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas. The Army announced that the more than 250,000 enslaved Black people in the state were free by executive decree. And that day came to be known as Juneteenth by the newly freed people in Texas. So you can go to the National Museum of African American History and Culture and read more about the historical legacy of Juneteenth, which is so, I think it's been given new life as people are starting to really understand more about that holiday and are actually celebrating Juneteenth. And when I say people, I mean, Black people, African Americans, and are starting to celebrate it in lieu of July 4th, which is the Independence Day holiday. So there's several events that are happening throughout the area, and Conway, Bucksport, Myrtle Beach, and Georgetown all have Juneteenth festivals that are going on June 19th. So We have the first annual Juneteenth Soul Food Festival. And this is sponsored by the Go Get Your You Foundation, which is a nonprofit charity organization. It's free. They're going to have free COVID-19 awareness tables, bouncy houses, raffle tickets, face painting, photo booths, and all the good stuff. They're also going to have a best fried chicken, mac and cheese, and collard green cook-off. That's something else right there. A health section with info on blood pressure, hypertension. Now they're going to have the fried chicken, but then they're going to have the info on the blood pressure.
You got to look at that.
Heart disease. Hey, we might as well be aware of what we're doing. We're eating that fried chicken, mac and cheese.
Absolutely.
But yes, but they are in need of workers, 18 to 20 workers. So if you want to help, definitely get in touch with the director at getyouru.org. This event is going to happen at Smith Jones Recreation Center from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the 19th. So that's happening in Conway at the Smith Jones Rec Center off of 378. So the next event is happening in Bucksport. It's the Celebrate Juneteenth Family Fun Day, Saturday, June 19th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to happen at the James R. Frazier Community Center, and that's on Bucksport Road. Now, they're going to have COVID vaccinations available. That's great, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., food, vendors, games, kickball, and more. And there's several sponsors or organizers of this event, the Association for the Betterment of Bucksport, Horry County, and also the Distinguished Men of Bucksport, the Lead Foundation, and Care SC Pharmacy, LLC, and Home Medical Equipment are all involved with this particular program. Now, in Myrtle Beach, there is the Myrtle Beach Juneteenth In Rhythm with Our Roots celebration. And this is a 2-day event, June 18th and 19th. On June 18th at 6 p.m. is the Black History Celebration at the Mary C. Canty Rec Center. And that's at 971 Canal Street. There's an Eventbrite link, so make sure you search Facebook for this particular event so that you'll get more information about that particular event. And then on June 19th at 4 p.m. is going to be the actual Juneteenth celebration at Charlie's Place, which is at 1420 Carver Street. In Georgetown, they're having the Juneteenth Reggae Jam Fest. So we're covering the whole spectrum here. Sponsored by Wings.
So you don't have to drive to go to another one. So you're just going to be right there in time.
Yes, exactly. So this is sponsored by Wings and Things, Muscle Clean Carpet Cleaning, and Mama Africa. Live reggae music by Mystic Vibrations, music by DJ Swisha of Tropics International. This celebration is on from 12 to 8 p.m. With lots of food. It's free, educational information, food, fun, dancing, games is all happening at 7364 Browns Ferry Road in Georgetown. And I will post this information to the World Community Magazine's Facebook page, the network's Facebook page, and also both websites so that you can get more information on who to call if you have any questions about any of these events. Also happening here in June, we have the 4th annual West Foundation football and cheerleading camp. So if you want to sign your young people up for this football camp, rising 3rd graders through 8th graders are eligible to attend this free camp. The registration and check-in is at 7:30 a.m. on that day. The actual camp starts at 8:30 a.m., but you have to pre-register. So make sure you visit the West Foundation website at www.westffc.com. And you can, register there. Make sure you include the names and ages of the young people that you are signing up. There's going to be breakfast, lunch, and drinks available on that day. And this is all happening at the Conway Parks and Recreation Center. And then the last thing that I want to mention, we are in the midst of a commemoration of the Emmanuel 9, and there's actually 10 days of events that are set up throughout the month of June. But this calendar is pretty extensive, and next week on the 14th, we're actually going to have Blondell Gaxon, who is the sister of one of the victims of the Emmanuel 9. She will be our special guest, along with myself and Sister Joella McQueen, your better half. So we will be talking with Ms. Blondell and just, going over what these commemorative events are all about, but also she's going to, share some information with us about the Emmanuel 9 tragedy that occurred, and just basically, talk about what has transpired since that day in terms of unity and the awareness that was created behind gun violence and racism and other topics that became prevalent issues, concerning the Emmanuel 9. I think the Emmanuel 9 situation has kind of exacerbated everything, but for the most part, these commemorative events are very important. And so, what we need you to know is that they're all driven by Eventbrite. So you'll also need to search Eventbrite for the Emmanuel 9 commemoration event links, and you'll need to register for all of these events. And again, there's like 10 days of events, basically starting June 16th with a virtual Bible study, June 17th, a virtual forgiveness forum. There's going to be a Juneteenth Freedom Fest in Charleston on June the 19th, of course, from 2 to 10 p.m. They've got, several other events that pretty much wrap up with a June 26th virtual gospel concert. Throughout the month of June, the Charleston County Public Library was sponsoring programs in memory of Cynthia Graham Hurd, who was, of course, one of the victims of the tragedy. And then June 15th and the 22nd, there's going to be a book study with Reverend Anthony Thompson. So again, this calendar will be posted to our websites and also our Facebook pages. And you'll want to, make sure that you register to attend these events. They're virtual events, so you don't have to worry about getting to Charleston unless you just want to go to the Juneteenth celebration. And I say that because that means there's no excuse for at least taking part in, at least one of the commemorative events that are listed on this calendar. So, Brother Edward, I think that's all that I have as far as community events, especially those things that are surrounding June 19th.
And those special events, I just want to throw a shout out to all the community partners who were engaged in these different entities celebrating June 19th. I thought that was great. I thought it was good coordination with the communities, and a lot of effort must have gone into that. So, kudos to all of that action that took place in order to have these events. And I know they're going to be successful. But I wanted to throw in something else about, for those of you who are used to the World Community Magazine, used to be the Whitmore Community Magazine, Summer Jobs Program. We're going to be doing it on a limited edition this year because of some indecisions that came about, and because of these indecisions, there was a time factor there involved, and we need time to solicit funds and so forth. But we're going to move ahead as if we had funds. Okay, so you can give us a call. Give me a call. 202-460-1390, and we can talk more about it. If you want your child to be, or if you want to be involved in the summer jobs program. As it stands now, we're looking at a 3-week worth of earnings, 3 weeks worth of opportunity for you to make money. If funds are available, we will go to the 4th week. I was at a training session this morning with Minister Katrina Reeves, who we're supporting some of their students there, and they're having a summer camp. And that was done at the Lighthouse Christian Book Center. It used to be the Lighthouse, but it's now ANNE Episcopal Church, which is the old Christian bookstore on Main Street in Conway. Successful. I'm glad that she endeavored to do that. And we're all doing it kind of like in the dark, but we're hoping that resources will come about so that we can facilitate a great number of students. Okay, so having said that, April, again, you can give me a call at 202-460-1390, and we can talk about a bit more.
Slow that down. Say it again, Brother Edward.
202
There you go. Bring the radio days. That radio voice back. Exactly.
460.
There you go.
1390. You can't put that across the screen, right? Can you slap across the screen there?
I can make a banner. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It may make a banner there. Yeah. So again, Chief. Oh well, we'll get back to
Bring
him.
him back. Mhm.
Yeah, we'll get back to him. So unless you have any more.
Oh no, I'm ready to bring him back on. Yeah.
Just bring him back on. Well, he's all gung ho. He's ready, man.
Actually, while you guys were speaking, I was looking through some of the chats, and there's a couple of questions I wouldn't mind getting to at your convenience.
Oh, we're ready. Yes.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Minshew did confirm at 6 o'clock tomorrow at the James R. Frazier Community Center in Bucksport for that town hall meeting. And there was a question posed about, I had mentioned qualified applicants for the police department, and Brother Edward, you and I have had this conversation many, many times. What is a qualified applicant for the police department? So when you want to become a police officer in the Horry County Police Department, you've got to go through a application process, a polygraph, psychological exam, and an interview with me. And if you successfully complete all those evolutions, then we're prepared to offer you a job. As you become a police officer in Horry County, and you go up for promotion, for somebody asked a question about upward mobility of Americans, it's a competitive process. So no matter who you are as a sworn officer in the Horry County Police Department, once you hit 2 years, you can now test for the next rank, which would be corporal, and then sergeant, and lieutenant captain, and of course, deputy chief. We make it as neutral as possible, so that everyone is on equal footing as far as a competitive process. And that process consists of a written examination. It also consists of an inbox, which is a written exercise. We do a lot of writing in law enforcement, and then a panel interview. And then those results are posted and presented to me, and we just go right down the list. I'm pleased to announce we just made a promotion to a sergeant. Jackie Witherspoon, who is one of our detectives, also happens to be African American. He was promoted last Friday, and he and I had a conversation about expectations today. He's a man, a good officer, and he's going to do well as a leader. And then recently, about 3 months ago, promoted Captain Tina Vaught, who's a white female. She is the second female ever promoted to the rank of captain in the Horry County Police Department. Very proud of that. She's doing an excellent job. And very proud of some of the strides we've made. We've got a long way to go, folks. I've got to get more people of color, Latinos, Asian, African Americans in the front door to make a dent on those upward mobility positions.
You know, what are some of the major challenges, Chief, regarding when you're in pursuit of these goals for more blacks on your police department?
You know what? I think it's better. That question is better posed to the folks on your chat line because I really don't know. I can guess that because of all the issues going on in this country over the last several years, not just last year, the low pay here in Horry County. I mean, we started off out at $40,000. You know, it's decent money. It's not, you know, the best money, and we're working with council to improve that. We're looking forward to a pay raise here very soon. It'll go to third reading next Tuesday. So we have a very supportive council that's, you know, possibly giving us additional positions and higher pay. But it's more than just the pay. It's how you treat your folks once they become a sworn member of your agency. And so we try to do a good job in maintaining our staff, enriching them through training and supporting them. But I also have to hold my folks accountable like you hold me accountable. So, you know, when officers make mistakes, and we all do, we're not perfect, holding those folks accountable and being very transparent. One of the things that, you know, I've been preaching since I've been here to change the direction of the Horry County Police Department is, you know, ethics and values. And part of those ethics and values is being truthful. And if you're an Horry County police officer and you are caught in a lie, doing an official investigation, I will terminate you. I will end your career with the Horry County Police Department. It's not something I'm proud of. It's something that must be done because we have to maintain those higher expectations in this profession.
Absolutely. What is? Can you give us what is approximately the turnover rate in the police department?
When I first got here, actually we're keeping numbers. It was pretty high. That's all I can tell you. I don't have numbers, and it looked like we were losing 3 to 4 folks every month. Over the last 3 years, it has been very minimal, and that's one of the positive aspects of one. A strong leadership in the organization, not just at my level. I'm talking about across the board, and a pleasant work environment. Officers have to know that I'll support them. They also know I'll hold them accountable, just like they hold me accountable. And the work that the county council has done over the last 3 years to give us more people and to raise our compensation, so we're able to retain more people. And truth be told, we're hiring a lot of officers from other agencies. So with all of that, and with a very supportive community, God bless our community, because they have been extremely supportive during some very tough times over the last year, we're able to retain people.
So do you think you'll ever reach the quote unquote economies of scale, with the salaries and with your new budget that's coming up? And your future budgets?
Well, that's our goal. That's our goal. And I'm sorry if I cut you off. Your signal's going in and out. But we're competing with area agencies. Myrtle Beach pays more than Horry County. And more importantly, as you work through the ranks of Myrtle Beach, their pay structure allows for more compensation for their veteran officers. And we're competing with that. North Myrtle Beach is the same way. So that's always going to be a factor. Love to get on the same playing field as the rest of the agencies, because I firmly believe that Horry County PD is among the best departments in the state of South Carolina. But that's an ongoing effort, and also the training that we give our officers and the accommodations with equipment. I think we have, and I know we have some of the best equipment money can buy.
Wow, April. Every time the chief comes on, time always comes up fast, man.
Where did the time go?
It does. It flies by when you're talking about important issues. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Mm-hmm. So it's approaching that time, and we have a lot, a huge number of comments on our comment side. April, do you want to care to indulge, and we can come back at another?
Actually, there's one I really want to get to, and maybe this will also help people who are trying to, consider a career field in a career path in law enforcement. Right. But Kevin Mishu posed the question: as communities try to encourage its youth to pursue careers in law enforcement, what characteristics, habits, and educational background would you suggest they pursue, and you think would help them in the selection process?
Good question. So we don't require a degree to be hired. It is a preferred skill set. And one of the efforts that is being made locally, Horry Technical College has a new program supported by the state of South Carolina and fully supported by the monies derived from the Lottery Foundation. So the program is free. It gets folks in the door in the basic criminal justice program. It actually gets you certified in the 4-week pre-academy, free of charge, and then you are now available to compete for positions in area law enforcement anywhere in the state of South Carolina. And multiple technical colleges throughout the state are supporting this program. The good thing about that program is once you make it through and you're hired by an agency, you can go back and get your 2-year degree, and then that's the way into your 4-year degree. One of the key factors that we look for is a good background. Of course, we can't hire anybody who has a felony background, and Brother McQueen and you and I have spoken numerous times about that. But we are flexible in mistakes that people make. Just hired a guy who 10 years ago was caught smoking marijuana. He went to the military, stellar military career, working at a job, doing a great job, and no reoccurrence of illegal drug use. So you're able to give that person a second chance and understand the circumstances behind youthful indiscretion and give that person an opportunity to do better. And I think by joining local government and especially the Horry County Police Department, it allows families to do better. We've got some outstanding people with the Horry County Police Department, born and raised in Horry County, and that's my goal, is to get folks that live here, that are grown up here, to work here.
April, I know we're running out of time, but I just got to get this question in. Chief, if you had what kind of reforming would you choose if you had the opportunity to do it right now?
Reforming in what kind?
In the police department, either statewide or either countywide. What kind of reforms would you be attracted to?
Yeah, one of the big things we're working towards is a constant program of crisis intervention training. We put our agency through a CIT program, crisis intervention training, for 1 week 3 years ago, but we've added new members. And we need a certified CIT instructor to come in and teach all the new people coming in. And the main thing, and the reason behind that, is if officers can deal with people in crisis and know the techniques of dealing with people and de-escalation, and basically what you do is you stretch out a situation, you slow it down so the officer is not forced into a life or death decision. We can calm people down to the point where we can talk them off the ledge, if you will. That's one of the biggest reform, and also partnership with mental health counselors. You heard the drive for defunding the police, but that's not possible. We all know that. That has failed in almost every jurisdiction that pushed forward with that. But what that really means to me is you don't defund the police, but you fund mental health. And you look at some other programs to combine mental health and a law enforcement response in a collaborative effort to deal with some of the crisis. If some of the stuff that we go to as a profession results in tragedy because we're dealing with mental health issues, and we've got to get a handle on that as a nation.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, our time is approaching. So, Chief, I want to thank you so much for agreeing to come back on again. And as we mentioned earlier, we'd like to continue with our Chief of the Month series because they know there's a lot going on. Like I said, this county is growing. You're coming up with new challenges, okay, and new things that you have to deal with. And it's good, I think, for the community to know that on a monthly basis. The recurrence, I think, is adequate of how it's going now. So, having said that, we want to continue with our Chief of the Month program, if you don't mind.
Well, I'm there when you need me, sir.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm there whenever you need me, and I'm sure any of the chiefs along the Great Strait feel the same way. So we're here to support you. You just let us know what you need. Right.
We've had good reception with that. The Chief of Conway, Chief Long, and we touched bases with a Chief of Georgetown at least once or twice. So we want to stay on top of it. Okay. So again, thank you so much for being with us today, and to our viewers. It was great. Your comments, I think there's wonderful comments coming in. It's too bad that this is not a 2-hour program, but our guests are, as usual, we don't want to keep our guests, going. I'm sure you have other things to do. But so, April, any last words you want to say?
Nothing at all. Great show. Thank you so much, Chief Hill, for being with us this evening.
Thank you, April. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you all, and see you next week. Look out for the promotion. We're going to have a good program that we have scheduled. Can't give you a whole lot about it right now. April may have touched base on it a little bit earlier, but you're going to like it. And we'll see you next week. God bless. Same time, 7 p.m. Don't forget, you can get us on Facebook, YouTube, and wcmagazine.net. Okay. Oh, by the way, let me give for the Summer Jobs Program, April. I'm going to give Sister Jenar's phone number. Sister Jenar Falk, she's our treasurer, so she worked closely with the Summer Jobs last year.
Okay, so you'd rather give them her number instead of your number?
No, in both numbers, they have access to both of them.
Okay, well, let me put your number up first, and then you can give us Sister Janar's number.
Okay.
All right. So there's Brother Edward's number. He mentioned it earlier. And then Sister Janar's number is?
843-995-2877.
And then Sister Janar Falk's number. All right.
Congratulations to our recipients of the quilts tomorrow, Quilts of Valor. We have Mr. Cleo Richardson is going to be receiving it was awarded a quilt. Bobby Bellamy, the mayor's other half. Brother Abdul Sahib, the Sugar Hill Singleton Grocery. Wilbur Graham, Minister Wilbur Graham Deacon Wilbur Graham, I'm sorry, in Loris, and Mr. James Moley Benning. Congratulations to all of you for being selected to be awarded a quilt. Good night.
Awesome.
Good, great.
All right. Good night. Have a great week.
See everybody next week. Thanks.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.